Welcome to the Healing Corner podcast, where real conversations meet deep healing. If you're ready to transform your life, you're in the right place.
We're your hosts, Coach Deb and Coach Yamz, two passionate coaches dedicated to helping you navigate life's transitions through healing, self-care, and personal growth. Our mission is to raise the world's vibration by providing tools, wisdom, and community to help you live a happier, more fulfilling life.
Join us every second and fourth Saturday for thought-provoking discussions, expert insight, and real stories of healing and transformation.
Be sure to subscribe and leave a review to help us reach more people on their healing journey.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Healing Corner podcast. It's been a minute. This is Coach Yamz. I'm here with my co-host, Coach Deb, and we are back after our hiatus, after our rest, after our break period that we needed, because the Healing Corner podcast was born, 3 years ago?
Yes.
And we did season after season after season nonstop. And we changed things up in between, but we never took time to take a pause for ourselves, take a pause for the show and where it was going and where it had been and what we want next. And so we took a reset. And in taking said reset, we was like, well, when we come back, what we going to talk about? And it only made sense to talk about resetting and going with the flow and figuring out what next looks like. And so today, that's what we're here to do. Talk about meaningful pauses, and to just share stories and experiences from our own perspectives so that maybe they can help you gain some insights on your life. You got anything to add before I tell them today's title and
Yeah.
then get into this conversation?
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys are new here or if you have been here since the beginning, but as you can tell, not only have we grown physically, but now you guys are going to be able to see what's going on in the background and what we are going to be presenting this year. So sit back, enjoy, get your favorite snack, tell your homeboy, homegirl, family friend, whoever to check us out over here because it's about to be lit. That's what I got
Mhm.
to
Okay.
say.
So today's episode is the Healing Reset, Embracing Life's Natural Flow. And so when we think about life resets, what comes to mind for you, Deb?
It's almost like I would not say a complete start over because you're still kind of using the information that you have received or obtained in the past, but it's more
Mhm.
like a built from those knowledges and going up, kind of like building up from what you've already seen and you've already worked out before. That's what I would say. Reset
And
means to me.
and I would agree with that. It's like when you're playing Super Mario Brothers and you get that checkpoint where, and maybe Nintendo didn't have it because I'm actually maybe mixing up old video games with new video games, but Crash Bandicoot, there
Oh,
we are. Crash
yeah.
Bandicoot had them checkpoints. And so
Mhm.
once you got to a certain point, as long as you got there, you didn't
Uh-huh.
have to go all the way back to the beginning. You just picked back up where you left off. And
Yes.
so for me, reset is the same.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure, for sure.
Mhm. Do you have any personal stories of resets that were planned or unplanned that you would like to share with the listeners?
Well, I would say I did recently go through, and actually I'm still kind of going through a transition when it comes to my career. So that has happened. Also eating habits, I had to reset that too, change up a little bit of how I was eating. And I realized a lot of stuff from when I was a child too. That's another thing that I've kind of been going through, the I guess healing the different traumas and the different things that I had to deal with as a child and releasing it and allowing it to be let go of and not holding on to it so tightly. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I feel that. I also feel like I feel similar in what you're speaking to. And then also I know for me, it has felt like I've been in a season very specifically in the last 2, 3 months where it's felt like I've been forced to slow down. Like no matter how much moving forward I am trying to do, I feel like I'm running in place. I feel like I'm running in place. And it's not in all areas of life, but it is in certain areas. And so it's making me have to sit with that and get clear with that and figure out what I'm going to do with that. Or not do, because sometimes that's the answer also. Oftentimes we feel like we have to do everything. And sometimes it's just a matter of being and letting a thing flow. And then it just, things start to cross onto your path where you're then like, oh, here this thing is, and here it is easily.
Yes.
So,
I would compare it to like the path of least resist. Like when you pull on something, it's
mhm,
harder for it to come to you, but when you let it go, then that's when
yeah.
it comes, and you're like, whoa. And
Hmm.
sometimes it comes in more abundance than what you expected it to come in.
Yeah.
When you do
Yeah.
it like that versus not receiving it or feeling let down and stuff like that. Because I know that that was one of the things that I had experienced a lot when I was younger, like the feeling of being let down. But that was because I was holding on to stuff or having such a heavy expectation on things I shouldn't have been having a heavy expectation on. So, yeah.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I feel like my season of transition and flowing and reflecting within and deciding what I'm going to do differently, how I'm going to be differently, is all wrapped up in disappointment and let down. And here's the thing, for me, like I've let go of the attachment of like expectations from like people that are like friends and in romantic relationship and all of that, because if you don't communicate a thing, then yes, nobody is a mind reader. But then there are instances in life where laws exist, where contracts exist, where people say, I will do X, you pay me this, and you'll get Y. It's a harder disappointment to sort through for me. And I've been having to learn what me showing up is going to continue to look like, because at the end of the day, I can't control nobody. I can only control myself. And being let down and disappointed when there are laws in place, and for instance, allegedly, it is a federal crime to tamper with a mailbox, do anything to mail or anything like that. Based on my lived experience, it doesn't seem like the federal government actually is concerned about that being violated. And when you are expected to show up in a certain way in society, but then the laws that are in place are not upheld across the board, there's a breakdown of accountability. And then it's like, well, what do I do now? How do I show up now? Because I can choose to be angry, or I can choose to move different, do some other strategic options, and focus my energy on what actually matters and move in that direction.
Yeah.
But that takes an active choice, and that takes a moment to step back, pause, and be like, what the hell is actually going on? And then what am I going to do different?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I've
yeah, I
had.
think it's interesting that you brought it up, and that's
Mhm.
like literally the undoing and the unthreading. And so, like in some other instances where it's a lighter situation, it's like, oh, well, if someone says they're going to do something and they don't, we don't have to give them 5 to 7 more chances. We can just actually respect that they're not going to deliver, and we can move on.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
so there's a freedom that comes with resetting and releasing
Going with the flow.
expectation and going with the flow and letting people be exactly who the hell they are
That's
and
it. That's
honoring
it.
that and
That's
honoring
it.
that.
That's it. Because it's funny you talked about the federal mail thing because I've had that happen to me. People like because I noticed when I sat back, I counted how many houses I've lived in my lifetime, and it's over 10 houses. And I was thinking to myself, how, over 10, some people have only lived in the same house their whole entire life, or maybe two, one or two,
Mhm.
10. That affected my life. You know what I'm saying? It made me, I feel detached. I was like, that's why I feel this energy of detachment
Mhm.
so easily, because the foundation, which is your house, or it was always kind of like pulled from underneath me. So sometimes when I was younger, I couldn't control it. It was my parents that were doing that. And then as an adult, I started to do it because it was normal, and it didn't feel like much of a big deal until recently. I'm like, wow, I actually lived in all these houses. And then each house has its own spirit, its own energy,
Yep.
its own flow. And you know how they say even some houses, like, you can add the numbers up and you can get like what the number of the house is, and it has a
Mhm.
certain frequency to that house. When
Mhm.
I moved here, I learned about that, and I researched the number to this house, and I was like, this is a house of abundance and
Mhm.
prosperity. And I was like, well, this is good, because then I can be able to be successful in this house. And that was the energy I put into it before I even moved in here.
Yeah.
So what that's what I think about when it comes to like resetting too, when you move, because now you're taking what you already had. Some of the stuff you might get rid of it because it's no longer in use. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, how like the changes of the body, me losing this weight, now I need to go and buy some clothes.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm resetting my whole entire wardrobe because I can no longer wear the same clothes that I had on.
Yeah.
So little stuff like that, it can be challenging because now it's like, okay, now I gotta go and put more energy into and effort into trying to find this, or
Mhm.
like when you're moving, I gotta go and buy some more, furniture, or I
Mhm.
might need to do some fixing on whatever place I'm at.
Mhm.
So those are the things, the challenges you come into, but at the end of the day, go with the flow is so much
Mhm.
more simpler, so much more easier.
Yep. And if you choose a way to reframe what it is that you're navigating, then it's like, okay, it's not that I have to go get some furniture. I get to fill a new space creatively in a way that feels good to me.
Mhm.
That feels way better than I got to go furniture shopping.
Yeah, seeing it, the perspective that you have.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. And I mean, like I said earlier, with clarity comes a level of freedom because now you can make an informed decision based on the information that you have.
Yeah.
So, mhm. And I think that was really important for us. Like, we began this because we love sharing what we know. We love bringing people together, and we want to make an impact on the world that has a ripple effect that can reach as many people in as many corners as possible, with the options that exist for living happier, healthier, more fulfilling lives.
Mhm.
And though there's intention behind it and all of that, if there's no structure, things don't get done consistently. And then the thing that felt good and was meant for good doesn't have a real chance to blossom into what it is that the original intention was. And so for us, that looked like sitting down and getting clear on what the behind the scenes required, when it came to interacting with guests and just doing the production side of things.
Mhm.
It looked like getting clear on who's going to post content and who's going to handle media and graphic things, and how, once each of us did those components, how all of that comes together, because we're a team and nobody is better than another, and nobody um is expected to carry more than another. And so, in order to find that balance, we had to have that conversation that turned into several conversations and different meetings and different video sharings and document updatings and the support of AI and Google and, our own individual growth and journeys being able to be brought back to a thing that we began out of passion and that we're able to prune and refine and then be able to pour into it in a new way with fresh eyes
Mhm.
and more intentionally so that it's able to go to the next step because we can't keep doing what we did to get where we're going next.
Yes, yeah.
Mhm.
And then I would also like to add, like, we also learned each other's strengths and weaknesses when it comes to certain things because when we first started, we kind of just, we knew we had a good flow together and a good chemistry, but it's like, I was able to see like Yams is good with admin, so she showed me some of that. I'm a little bit I'm a little more what do you call it, into like the visual part of things, and the background when it comes to the visuals.
Mhm.
So some of the things I showed Yams for that, and like we just bounced off of each other, and it kind of like it it balanced out more
Mhm.
because in the beginning we had outsiders kind of helping us a little bit too.
Mhm.
That was different energy, and not saying that it was negative, but it was experience for us to be able to
Absolutely.
have other energies interacting with what we had going on. But now it feels like we're getting to another place, another destination when it comes to
Mhm.
this journey that we are on and what we're trying to build here also.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And we're listened to in 20 something countries at this point. Because the last time when we were in our intro, it was six
Mhm.
countries. So we've continued to grow our reach, but
Yeah.
also we grow as people and we grow as a podcast and we grow as a community.
Yes.
So it's been a really beautiful experience to be able to go through this journey and to go through it with you. So I just want to say thank you.
Yes, thank you to you.
Mhm.
And shout out to y'all out there in the world that's watching us. I mean,
Yes.
that you're the reason why we're out here doing this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what are some of the myths around starting over or letting go that you think are important to highlight and then make not so scary?
Yeah. So, a lot of times like how I said, I had sat back and thought about, wow, I've moved so many times. Like some people get anxiety when it comes to like moving or relocating. Like, is this city gonna be are they gonna be welcoming to me? If you have kids, are my kids gonna be safe in the school system? There could be a lot of things that you can't control, like how Yam said earlier, that can come into play when it comes to you going through a reset or transforming. But you
Mhm.
have to look at it as though it, your perspective is you're doing this for the better of yourself. And when you look at it like that, things start to align. Because, for example, when I came here, I actually came for a job. Like, I had a relative, well, I did have a relative that lived here with her family, but she moved back. And after that, I didn't have any relatives here. So I started to build my own connections and made friends and associates, and I started to move around the city on my own. And that was something that I have never experienced. I come from a little small town. Like, is everybody knows everybody and barely anyone leaves ever. So for me to go from that to go to another town, another city, and be able to make connections and create other, relationships, it was kind of challenging, but I took it in a stride because I knew this is how I can better myself and this is how I can grow. So that would be something that, I would say was challenging for me. Like, one of the biggest things to just be out here being single and not really having too many people behind me to
Mhm.
support me to be able to make a move, but still successfully being able to do that.
Mhm. And I think that helps transition into what I was going to say, which is we can start to take the pressure off of ourselves to have it all figured out versus allowing divine timing to just do what it does. Because nobody has this figured out. To be clear, we are all on a journey trying to figure this out and be okay. Especially
Yeah.
with the chaos that is exploding all around the world today.
Mhm.
And so, if we take the pressure off of ourselves to force ourselves to be like, oh, well, I should know this and I should do that, and this needs to be this way, and we ain't got to do all that. We ain't got to do all that. All you have to do is show up in the present moment that you are in and take the next step that feels good for you. That's all
Yeah.
you got to do. And the rest of everything, if you allow a thing to flow. And of course, like there's responsibilities, there's life. So, like, we're not saying ignore the world around you. Do the things that you feel like you must do, but it's all just one step at a time. And you're not doing it any better or worse than anybody else because you're on the journey that you're meant to be on. Because every step that you take, every experience, every hurdle, every pothole, every fucking detour, it is the journey to where you're supposed to ultimately end up. Because we all got a purpose on this planet.
Mhm.
And whether it's storytelling or building buildings or whatever the case may be, your journey leads you there. And you wouldn't get there if you didn't have these varying experiences.
Yep. And it also helps you to be able to see other people's perspectives too, because I noticed like when I was younger, there would be times when I would see somebody do something, "Well, why they do that? Why they do that?" But now that I'm older, I'm like, that's their journey. That's
Hmm.
the way that they needed to go. Even if it was something that maybe turned out in a negative outcome, that their soul needed that experience so that they're able to go on to the next, experience. So it's like it's not for you to, take it upon yourself, because I feel like was growing up, a lot of people around me, they did that. It's like they seen what other people had going on, and kind of it's like they don't want to look at what they got going on, but they want to look outside of themselves and kind of just pick and point at this and that, or what this person is doing and this person is doing. But
Hmm.
when you take the time to like look at yourself, you can see the other people better. Like it's almost it's really interesting,
Yep.
so resets are important for us to do all the time. Like it shouldn't be just, how we have like the New Year's or whatever, they Happy New Year like once a year, but it's a reset can happen every time you wake up. This is a new day. This is
Yep.
I haven't seen this day. What does this day hold? That type of
Hmm.
energy.
Yep.
That's what I would say.
Yep. And then also letting go of like identities and expectations of what you're supposed to be doing. So like, yes, you may be a mom, but
Mhm.
you are not only a mom. There is a whole you in there that is dying to live a whole life outside of you showing up and cooking somebody's lunch and putting them down with a bedtime story. That's
Mhm.
not your entire existence.
Yeah.
And so not being so wrapped up and consumed in what it is that you thought something had to be, but allowing something to become what it's meant to be. Being curious,
Mhm.
because, like I said earlier, don't nobody got none of this figured out. And the more that you allow yourself to be curious, the more that you allow yourself to be the authentic you, to show up in ways that feel good to you,
Mhm.
it's it's almost like you look forward to resets because it's like, ooh, now how can I up level? How can I get better? Because the last time I did this, like, whoo, child. And I would even say that that's true for like my food journey. I know I've spoken about it on the podcast before, but I released 50 pounds because I changed how I ate. And even in going through that reset, which was complicated and uncomfortable and had me ugly crying often, even in getting through that, I realized that the season I am in now, the reset that I'm in now, is demanding of me to show up better for my body. I'll be 40 this year. I want to make sure that I am moving and that I am active because I want mobility for as long as this body will allow it to happen. And helping me do that is staying active physically. And so it feels like there was a season where I had to figure out how to eat better and get away from processed foods and things like that. And now I'm in a season of how can I train my body? How can I strengthen my body and my mind? Because
Mhm.
physically working the body also requires you to overcome mental hurdles.
Mhm.
Because let me tell you something, baby. I've been crying in this gym when I have had things going on that have just felt like too much to bear.
Mhm.
It's like my inner child is rebelling and is like, girl, we are already not okay. Why do you have us in here with this personal trainer pushing through these extra reps and it feel like my arms is jello and about to fall off? Why would you do that to me? But then it's like, no, I needed to like allow myself to release all of whatever was building and filling.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, I know why, because I grew up not in a safe space where expressing my emotions and feelings was safe. And so learning to slow down and listen to my body and honor what my body needs is something that I am still actively practicing. And I've learned that the gym is where it physically manifests when I'm not paying attention and aware. And so I think that it's a good reset that I had to have the food thing to like set that foundation. And now I'm in a place where I'm trying to really figure out this body and how to overcome my mind and the challenges that come up because guess what? Life is always gonna life. That's one thing that's guaranteed to damn do is keep doing what it does.
That's for sure. You know, and it's interesting you said when you're talking about your weight loss journey because I pretty much went through a similar situation, but it's real interesting because previously I would say let's see 4 or 5 about 5 or 6 years I had lost a tremendous amount of weight, but I gained it back. Like
Mhm.
I gained it back, and I realized like with my mind, I realized that a lot of stuff started to happen like between the time that I lost the weight and then where I'm at right now. I had lost a loved one. I had went through like a lot of different transitions, like moved a couple of times. And it took a, and I realized that that took a toll on me, but it was because I was kind of too connected to it. Like, how can I explain this? um Sometimes I feel as though like when people have been forced to detach from stuff, or it's like you gravitate towards more things. So that included food. Like I would want to have more of something that wasn't good for me because it was comfortable. I don't want nobody to take it from me, that type of
Mhm.
energy, because in the past I've had things taken from me, or
Because you can control it.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So I could control it. So it was like it associated me with, that's why the weight started to pick back up. Like, and now that I've got to this point, I actually lost more weight than I did then. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So it got me closer to the actual goal that I really want. So
Yes.
I'm connecting those and realizing, and I'm growing, and I'm seeing, okay, I'll never be back in that place again because I've overcome something. But
Yeah.
how many resets did I had to go through to even get to that point, you know?
Yeah.
So life is really interesting in
Mhm.
every category. Like I know we're talking about the weight loss thing, but it's also like, just if you're going to school and you going from one, you're graduating, and then you go to another school, you graduate from that school. All those are resets that are happening in your
Yeah.
life, and they're taking you to the next level. You're building upon whatever it was that you obtained from that last location, place, whatever it was that you were doing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. This has been good.
Yeah.
So we want to give you some things before we wrap a thing up. One of the things that I would like to give you is a journal prompt. And that prompt is, what is my current season asking of me? What would flowing look like? And so just sit down with a piece of paper, a journal, a voice memo, a Google Note doc, it don't matter. Write it down somewhere. Ask yourself, what is it that your current season is asking of you? And what would it look like to flow? And the thing is that you don't have to have a perfect or right answer because there is no such. And it wouldn't even hurt if you took it a step further and thought about this from the future you, where you are wanting to go towards, how would they answer this question? So maybe do it in two steps. Deb, what would you like to share?
Um, affirmations,
Okay.
being able to speak life into yourself, and just just honoring where you came from, and where you're going, and just know that there is a flow. Like some affirmations can be simple, because I know with me, I like to affirm myself in the mirror. Like, I'll look at myself in the mirror in my eyes and be like, "You got this, D." And I call myself D.
Mhm.
I'm like, "You got this, D." And then sometimes it's not even in the mirror. Sometimes I affirm myself, and some people might call it talking to yourself, but I feel like it's like affirmations, like,
Mhm.
it's okay, you're all right, you're safe,
Yeah.
things like that. When you get to that space, sometimes that is very difficult. Those affirmations going to come up in your head, even if you don't say them to yourself, because you have built it in. So that would be one thing I would suggest.
Yeah. And I think that it's really interesting because I actually just had a thought pop in my head. I have a friend who just transitioned into another job role because promotion. And it has posed challenges because, transition from one role to another, and you don't know what you don't know and all the things. And I just want to really reiterate that we got to normalize not having all the answers,
Mhm.
especially while you're doing something new. You are new, and when you are new, sometimes you're bad. And guess what? You got to be bad at it to get good at it.
Yeah.
You just do.
Yep.
So let's normalize fucking up. It is okay. Like, as long as you're not harming someone else, as long as you're not harming yourself, it's okay if you do it and it doesn't turn out the way that you thought it would. It's
Mhm.
okay
Yeah.
because you're learning, and
Mhm.
life is about learning. Stay curious, y'all.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
And with that, I think that we will wrap things up. We encourage you to challenge yourself to see if you're in a season of reset and to answer the call of taking the challenge to reset, because resets are good, and doing them regularly, refreshing yourself, refreshing your mind, refreshing the people around you, the hobbies, the habits, all of that. We aren't doing our part if we're not growing, if we're not changing, if we're not questioning what we thought that we knew, because you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
And the more you learn, the more you realize that you don't really know and have all the answers. So, yeah. That's what I have. I want to say thank you, Deb, for showing up and co hosting with me and helping to share stories and information with people, because these conversations are helpful. Because sometimes people don't get to have these conversations with someone else. And so we hope that hearing this conversation between us and the additional tools and resources that we shared will help you go forth and live an incredible life. And also, I just want to throw a book recommendation out there because I love this book. It's called Rest is Resistance by Trisha Hersey. And it's all about making sure that you are resting and taking time for yourself and pouring back into you, because at the end of the day, the world is going to stay crazy, and you got to stay in control and rested and well from within.
And I do want to say, think of yourself as your own universe. When you think of yourself as your own universe, your own planet, or your own system, and you're orbiting other systems, other people, places, and things, you got to take care of your system. You got to take care of what's going on within, so that you'll be able to function correctly with the rest of the system, because everything is a system if you think about it. So that's what I have to say. And then also, don't forget to comment. Let us know what you think. Make sure that you guys DM us or send us an email. We would love to hear your stories. And also, don't forget to leave us a review so that we
Mhm.
can get some feedback. Because right now, we definitely appreciate the feedback, since we're starting back up new.
Yes, indeed. Also, make sure that you share. with anybody that you think may gain something from this. Like, share, subscribe everywhere that you can. It helps us to reach as many people as possible. Um, I think that's everything. Make sure that you tune in for our next episode, which is going to be on the fourth Saturday of April. I don't know what that date is off the top of my head, but we'll be back in 2 weeks, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. And we look forward to the next one.
Remember, healing is a journey, not a destination. So keep showing up for yourself.
If you enjoyed this episode, follow us on social media at the Healing Corner Podcast and visit www.thehealingcornerpodcast.com for more content, coaching, and ways to connect.
Until next time, keep healing, keep growing, and keep shining.